Hi, well in this film I'm assembling the Glasgow chair, so I'll be putting in the spindles and the back comb. Anyway, I'm sitting in the chair at the moment, so I better get out and then you can take a look. So what I've done at the moment is I've just put the spindles roughly into position and I've made a back comb there. Now you may be thinking, what are those weird cutouts on the back comb? Well, the answer is they're for the stained glass. So I've also been busy with some stained glass. Anyway, chair's coming on fine. I've just done a rough sort of dry fit of the spindles just to see how they'll go. So that's the chair as it's looking. The seats come up really well actually. I'll show you a bit closer so you can see the spindles, but what I've essentially done is I've beefed up the two outer spindles so they're quite a bit thicker than they were. And the idea behind that is basically to make the chair a bit stronger because I don't think it was strong enough as it was. So here's a closer view of the spindles and you'll see what I've done. I've put slightly thicker ones, so these are 3/4 of an inch thick on each of the ends, and that should make the chair quite a lot stronger. I've been doing a test fit of the spindles into the chair seat, and what I do, I essentially try and get them shaped down to size with a chisel, and then I just give them a little bit of sandpaper to get a nice tight fit. And what I then do is I just put depth mark lines on the spindles so I can actually check their depth when I'm gluing them in. So those are the lower spindles in position. You may be able to see just there I've also put a line, a marking line on both the chair seat and on the spindle. And the idea of that is basically I've been twisting these spindles round to get the best orientation because they're actually quite sort of twisted and being green wood they're slightly bent, which doesn't matter, but you do need to make sure when you're putting the spindles in that you get them so that when you're looking at the chair the spindles look like they're the same distance apart. Otherwise if you get them sort of bending slightly one way it really will shout out and look, not look very nice. I'll try and show you what I mean. So I'll move this spindle around and what I think you'll see is it will move one side or the other. If I can twist it. Oh dear, it's tight. Right. Oh yeah. Do you see how that's going to one side because it's twisted round? So that's why I need to mark the front of the spindle. If I bring it back round, full turn, line up my little marks, that spindle's now in its correct position and it's roughly the right sort of spacing each side. So that's what I'm trying to achieve and that's why I marked the base of the spindles. So what I need to do now, I've just marked in pencil along the bottoms of each of these spindles. I'll allow about 3/4 of an inch to an inch on top and I'll cut them all now so an inch above the pencil lines and then I shape them to fit these holes that I've bored. I've just bored these freehand into the back comb here. So hopefully that will then work. And what I'll need to do after that is put a couple of the back support spindles in as well. But again, I'll just do those freehand. Yeah, so the other little gadget I use is a moisture meter. And I use this actually just to check that the wood is nice and dry and it's actually below the sort of dampness of a room. So I was getting 6 or 7% on this. I keep the spindles dry overnight, so I don't actually leave them in the workshops, they'd swell up too much. So I keep them in the house, and then for the assembly obviously I do that fairly quickly. I don't leave the spindles lying around to get more moisture back in them. So they're lovely and dry, just right for gluing. So I'll do the gluing now. Well, glue up stun of the spindles, always a bit of a relief actually to get that bit done. So they're all in place. I had to hit the top comb quite hard to get those spindles into the relevant holes, and you're always again a bit worried you're going to crack the top comb, but I used a rubber mallet and it's gone okay. So it's all now setting. I'm quite pleased actually with the overall effect of that. There's always a slight fear as you're gluing up you're going to get some of the spindles in the wrong holes, and I know that sounds a bit crazy, but these slanting spindles, it'd be so easy to put them in the neighbouring hole, but it is alright. I've double checked it. And you begin to see with the water where I've been wiping off glue on the seat, that grain is going to come up really nicely. So I'm frankly quite relieved to get it to that stage. the side spindles, I've actually wedged them just to make them stick in really firmly. So that's the thicker spindles. But I thought with a bit of wedge underneath, and then there's no way they can work loose. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed watching the film, and the next one will be probably on the stained glass and finishing touches. But who knows, I may change and do something slightly different. Do I have sidearms? Anyway, bye bye for now.